When you say it was the second quiz, what you mean? That what you took just now?
Yeah.
This is the second quiz. Yeah. And so it's 10 weeks, so in total you may have 5 or 6 quizzes. That's 20% of your grade. So far, some people have 2 zeros. Either they weren't here or not prepared. So we about to have the third quiz, I guess, when we come back. It depends on, let's see how this homework will go and let's see how much time you need to complete it.
So you don't come out next Saturday?
No, no class next Saturday. It's the holiday weekend, no class. Yeah.
The next quiz on chapter 2 and chapter 3 the following Saturday, right?
We'll see how this homework goes. You didn't get the homework. Okay.
You better bring this in or we can just email this in.
Hello?
You can bring it. You can bring it.
Okay.
If it's Saturday?
We'll find out.
When you come on the 10th, August 10th is when the homework is due.
And that's when we'll find out what follow week is a quiz or not.
No, by the end of this class, I'll determine if we need a quiz. Depending on, last week, we had a very good discussion. Everybody seemed to be able to participate and know what we were talking about. Right? And that's why we went back to chapter 1. The concern was that we didn't get chapter 1. Even though the research was required from the week before, right? So this is the second week on chapter 1. And we still have some people saying, I can't even guesstimate. I don't even know what to do. Okay? So that's, I know, we have very busy schedules, but if we made a commitment here, we have to commit the time as well. She's there. Yeah. Okay? You gave her the homework?
Yeah, she got
Yeah, okay, good.
But I guess she was able to see, don't know what she doing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so any questions, concerns? Anybody need help right now to get on track? It is a lot of work. It's very comprehensive. Okay? We learned that, remember, we took intro to determine if we could even come here. Right? And after we successfully completed intro, it's going to be a little tougher than intro. Okay, but once we commit to this 10 weeks, time myself down a little bit, get this under my belt, and then decide if I want to move on to ICA. Okay, but you won't pass a class without this 20% in the quizzes. Okay, so you have 2 weeks to wind yourself up and determine, make a schedule, use your lunch hour. If you're traveling, take the chapters out on the plane with you. Any time where you have to wait. If you're going to the doctor, my doctor has to wait 2 hours. Whilst I sit there, I read. I catch up on whatever I need to catch up on. So, in the nights, if you have young kids, I turn off all my lights at 8 o'clock, and then I get back up at 9:30, and I study. Just some tips of anybody, And then pay attention in class, because it's a lot of information, and if you capture some of it, you can go home and do research, and then that'll help you to formulate your essays. Okay? Last year the exam was 1 mandatory question, and it was from current events. It was on recommendation 24. Beneficial ownership. What did the Bahamas do? Similar to this question that we had on this exam today. What did we do? What was one of the questions? Let me see. Explain recommendation 1 in developments in the Bahamas. The Bahamas made to satisfy the requirements. So the mandatory question was explain recommendation 24. And what did the Bahamas do? And then you had that mandatory question, and you had to choose 4 questions out of 8. This was 4 of them from chapters 2 and 3. Okay, and that's why you have it for homework, because I want you to be able to go out there, do research, write your essays, get your 10 points, and ensure that you have not just fluff but some meat. Okay, because we don't want any surprises. When we get in that exam, we want to know that you know, I've seen this question, something similar, because you know we won't give you the entire question, but I've seen a version of this. I have some information. I would have done my research and I can answer this. Right? So last week, we should be able, from last week's class, we should be able to answer question 1. Anybody can answer question 1? And in fact, if you read the chapter, and if you came prepared to class, you should be able to answer all of them. And we should just be having a discussion based on, you know? So all of it looked like Spanish, right? Being at Spanish? Yeah, on the homework.
I know I read something that was saying that it could be a predicate crime.
Right? That's the first one. So what recommendation would says that we should make it a predicate crime? I think so. Chapter 3 starts with terrorist financial, talks about recommendation 5 and the requirements. It has to deal with terrorist financing. We found out last week that was one of our deficient, remember, out of the 22? Right. So he said that it was deficient. We saw that it was the stats, how chapter 3 started. Did anybody look it up?
I mean, what they did about it?
Yeah. Because remember now, that's one of the questions for this week that you had for 2 weeks.
I think they so they implemented the 2018. I think they put some law in there. I can't remember exactly what.
Okay, so we had the law and they repealed and revamped it to include the meat. Remember, we put the shell in, and then they came and said, listen, I know you have these laws in place, but it's just the shell. It doesn't have any meat. It doesn't make it an offense. It won't hold up in court. We need you to, you know, put some more meat in the law to ensure that if indeed there is those same people that came in through Freeport, if we did not send them right back on that plane, if we detained them, what would we have detained them based on if we only have the shell of the law? And in fact, at that time, not until after September 11, did the 9 special recommendations based for terrorist financing come out. Right? Remember, we are very, not non-compliant, but we are reactive rather than proactive. And back then it was 2000, so we didn't really expect anything like that. Definitely not in the Bahamas. But at that time, if we had detained them, we had to find some law to hold them. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what they would have done. How we would have charged them, because there was no law on the books at that time. Right? We may have found some law that might have been applicable. Would the seal have represented them and went on a technicality? Is that a possibility? Because at that time, you wouldn't have known the extent of what they were preparing to do. Now, after September 11, he may have said, well, wait, you killed thousands of people, you hijack airplanes, you know, you affected many lives. But again, no matter what the crime is, you still get a court-appointed lawyer or somebody has to represent you. Will they represent you or not? I've seen a lot of lawyers, in fact, somebody who graduated high school with me, represent the most heinous persons to get popularity. Now she's one of the top lawyers in the country. And she did one of the most high profile, very heinous. It involved children, more than one. But her name was in the newspaper every week. And now she has an office on Bay Street. So that should tell you how, you know what I mean, when you want recognition, if you was a young upcoming lawyer and you want to be at the top, that's what you have to do. So you never know. right? Okay, so who read chapter 3? Anybody? We need to read? We don't need to read. It heavily talks about terrorist financing. It heavily talks about recommendation 5. Right? And then it goes on to the sanctions part of it, which should not be so familiar. But all of us know about terrorist financing, right? But look at the question on the homework, question 3. What does question 3 say?
The FATF published 3 reports related to terrorist financing, discussed the strategy that the FATF has recommended to the financial institutions to combat terrorist organizations.
Okay, so what 3 reports are we talking about? It's interactive now. Let me know, y'all have to tell me what y'all need. And I can give y'all what I have, y'all tell me what y'all need. Look at page 22.
Terrorist financing, emerging terrorist financing risks, financing of Islamic State in Iraq and Levant.
Yeah, so any of us, remember I said when we come across in our readings and they list different readings, what do? At minimum, what do? You Google it, you read the overview, you read the conclusion. If you have time, this mentioned 4 reports right here. If you have time, then you could read in detail. Sometimes I think 1 or 2 of them were like 20-something pages. Sometimes it's like 90 pages, but at minimum, you read the overview and the conclusion. Okay, so you could get the gist of what they talked about. Okay, and that's our research. Remember, we cannot, again, just like we cannot pass a class without taking the quizzes, we cannot pass a class without research. Looking at these 4 questions that were on the final exam in May, can we pass this without research? You see, okay. So y'all believe me? Right? Okay, and this is why we have to read. Okay, are we making a commitment? Are we gonna do this?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I mean everybody's morning. Everybody just looking back at me. No, this is a group commitment. Just now, we have a goal, right? And some of us who getting 100%, we want to get in a group and we want to try and assist. These are some tips. I gave some tips on how to study, when to study. Walk around with the pages. I'm here to help. Okay, I want 100% pass. Passing in this class. I know we don't live in perfect, but at least 95. Okay, because we would have captured everybody who needed help along the way and help them out. All right?
Can I have one of the homework sheets, please?
Sure. 1 or 2 persons are in here now who needed extra help. Was it beneficial? Does it make sense to stop halfway through and say, help me out, I need some ideas? Okay. Nobody talking to me today. Let's just read.
Can I do the quiz, please?
Yeah, for homework. You can do it for homework. Yeah, we already had the pep talk. I already put everybody in punishment. They on one leg in the corner now. You miss all of that, but somebody will bring you up today. Yeah, you missed that.
Okay, so do whatever quiz question you give to them.
Yeah, I'll give it to you
You
after.
give it to me after for
Yeah.
homework.
Yeah, for homework. Right.
Okay.
But again, you need the grades. It's 20%.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, but you have to come on time. The quizzes are at 9:30.
Yeah, my apologies.
You have until 9:45. If you come after 9:45, I just assume that you're not taking the quiz. You miss a grade. Yeah, we'll talk after. Today's the first week, Yeah. Okay? So try, or at least call and in advance and arrange, But what I'm saying is, a lot of persons are just not showing up or coming in and saying, I'm not prepared. Okay? Okay.
I just wasn't feeling well this morning. I wasn't gonna come, but I said let me come still.
Okay. So we'll discuss it after.
Okay.
All right? Okay. So back to page 22, because somebody tell me about terrorist financing. Before we even read these four, did you read any of these papers at the FATF? Did you Google any of them in your readings? Hi. Did you?
I'm always talking, so I can let.
No, I asking you. We already asked the class. I asking you.
I read the FATF, some of the FATF report.
Okay. All right. So we were talking about question 3. Would you be able to answer that?
No, I started to look at it, but I realized I need to read it a second time to understand it properly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so that's another tip. Sometimes you need to read a second time, one time, or write down the key points. That if you were to formulate an essay, what are the key points from this? And you could normally find that in the overview or the conclusion. Okay? So let's talk about terrorist financing. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page. So recommendation 5, the Bahamas was deficient. Okay? Tell me, if you were to write an essay on, how would you start this? The FATF published 3 reports related to terrorist financing. How would we open that? Terrorist financing is, right? What? Right? Are you listening?
The implications that terrorist financing has on the economy, and the risk incurred because of it occurring, and then the report submitted to the terror or beef up what's there.
Okay, that's good. You should get about 2 points for that. But why do they do it? What's the purpose? Is it to gain funds or because of their beliefs, right? Mainly because of their beliefs. Another key point, is it for legitimate or illegitimate purposes? Both, right? Both. Or through illegitimate as well as legitimate means. Remember, a young guy went out and got a loan. Somebody worked during the summer. There are sympathizers, there are state sponsors. A lot of financing goes through charities, right? And so all of that right there, you can put in, right?
With the background.
Yeah, the background. These are their objectives. This is why they do it, right? And then we can wheel in recommendation 5. Extra points, if we say the Bahamas was deficient, we can explain which part of it was deficient and what they had to do to beef it up. But that should have been how you answered your deficiencies question. You didn't use recommendation 5? Yeah.
Yeah, it was recommendation.
Okay, so tell me what you said.
I just pretty much say what recommendation 5 was. It was the terrorist financing offenses.
Mm-hmm.
So it was countries should not just criminalize the act or the person, but they need to pretty much target the organizations.
Okay.
That
support them.
Right, that support them.
Mhm.
So that's the charity people and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I put, and then it was like Bahamas was deficient in this area, so they pretty much use the Anti-Terrorist Act, 2018.
To satisfy this recommendation
Yeah.
5. Okay, we all got that? And of course, whatever we would have read in these reports. So they said, this is the strategies that we recommend. You know, we went out there, we did some evaluations. They did some work with, I think in Turkey, and they came back with these 3 reports in 2015. Okay, and this is again, remember, we cannot eliminate it, but we could mitigate it, and these are the controls that I think financial institutions should put in place to help combat it. Right? We good? Or we need to talk about this some more? We good? No? We need to talk about this some more. Remember now, we want to say that they do this because they're not doing it trying to make money, right? That's a key point. We know another key point is recommendation 5. The next point is the objectives, right? Why are they doing this? To raise money, for recruitment, for travel. That's familiar, right? Right. And then the methods, cash couriers, the hawala payments. I read a report that said that they almost never use the financial institutions any longer because there are so many controls in place, right? So there are other ways that they, the hawala payments are like a barter system. You want to explain it? The hawala payments?
Where they give money to an agent with instructions on how to deliver to the final recipient.
Right. So just like the barter system back in the day, I have meat and you have wheat, and so I exchange my meat for your wheat or what have you. Everybody know what the barter system is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's how the hawala payments work.
Are they doing more things like using like a lot of non-profit organizations and
Yeah.
charities
Yeah.
and stuff like that as well?
Yeah.
Because they tend to be a lot less stringent in their methods, which I'm assuming will be addressed more now that we have things like non-profit, the recent non-profit act, to
Right.
make sure that those agencies really, act more like financial institutions and actually follow some of the regulations that the more regulated authorities use.
Right. Right. Correct. Okay, so there are thousands of methods, thousands of typologies out there. Okay, again, if we're reading at the back, the Egmont group, the group of FIUs that came together and wrote all the typology, you'll see thousands of different stories of what they did, how they did it. We also read, I guess that was in intro, about how they fund their payments, what they do, and that's where we found out that the person got the summer job, and somebody else, they're just sympathizers. Somebody got a loan. They did it through extortions, kidnappings, all sorts of stuff, robbery, right? Right. And so then the U.S. put in an act called the U.S. Patriot Act, right? We've all heard of that before. Okay, why would that affect us? We're not U.S., we're Bahamian.
Financial industry, we depend on correspondent banks to a lot of our businesses.
Right.
What the Patriot Act did is that they pretty much have jurisdiction over any US dollar transactions that went through the US, so that they can prosecute any financing.
Any country.
Any country, anywhere, once
Right.
the money has gone through the US to do so.
Right, so I think everything, when it all boils down, they created the correspondent banking system to tie into the Bank of New York. So that means once you offer a wiring service, at some point, your money would channel through the Bank of New York, right? And so they created the U.S. Patriot Act, and it was they can't implement laws or enforce any laws on us. The US currency itself is, they call it extraterritorial. So that, once you're using US currency, and of course, you know, we have a US reserve. US currency is accepted worldwide, right? So almost every country, I mean, countries like Cuba and Jamaica, they accept US currency, they will accept it in, but they don't pay it out. So if you go to Cuba and you pay US currency, they give you back, but is it pesos?
Pesos.
Yeah,
You actually don't accept US, you have to change it in the house.
you have to change it now, eh?
Yeah, to change it, yeah.
Okay, but this is in Jamaica. Jamaica, you give out, you go to a store and you pay in US, you have to request that they give you US back.
Exchange, yeah.
Yeah, they will give you Jamaican dollar.
And most places actually don't even have US to give you back.
Right.
You have to accept it in Jamaican dollars and then go and get
Go
it changed.
go to the exchange and get a change. Okay? But because it's accepted worldwide, it's the universal currency, they put in the Patriot Act that it makes it extra territorial and they can inflict this law on you. Right? And I think that is section 319, and you can see in question 4, it says, explain section 319 of the US Patriot Act. Okay? And there were really 3 objectives of this US Patriot Act. I mean, the Patriot Act, one time, that was a question on the ICA exam. And the Patriot Act have to be at least 500 pages. I mean, yeah, 500 pages. And so the whole point was to get to the brunt of it. What does this really say? How does this affect the Bahamas or other jurisdictions? And this was the whole point right here. But of course, you know, when you have 500 pages and you're not US and you're not familiar with this act, you don't even know where to start, right? So it was a very challenging question, but we got through it, right? And so what is the purpose? There are 3 purposes that I think they said George Bush put it in place. Yeah, George Bush. And that's on page 20. What are the 3 purposes?
5.83
Mm-hmm.
position or operation of multinational financial institutions claiming the activity of offshore banking firms.
Okay, so specifically us, right? Because we are an offshore banking center. Okay, and what does it allow them to do? Let's read the most significant aspects of the Patriot Act.
US banks must take reasonable steps to identify the beneficial owners of accounts where they are foreign persons. US banks must identify foreign persons whose funds move through payable or corresponding bank accounts held with them. US banks must apply enhanced due diligence for all foreign private banking customers and international corresponding account relationships with offshore banks. The jurisdiction of the U.S. court extends over any person committing an offense involving a financial transaction that occurs in the USA. The extraterritorial criminal jurisdiction of the U.S. is extended over any person outside the jurisdiction who engages in any act which, if it had been committed in the U.S., would constitute an offense.
Okay, so let's look at the first point. U.S. banks must take reasonable steps to identify beneficial owners of accounts where they are foreign persons. How do we do that? We would have learned it last week. What form would we fill out? Yeah. Right. So in the onboarding, when we open up accounts, we let them fill out the W-9s or our FACA form. That's what you said, FACA? Okay, yeah. So, or instead of some institutions use the FACA form, and it should have a list at the back and ask you if you have U.S. indicia. And so then, if you're a U.S. citizen, you fill out the W-9. If you're non-U.S., you fill out the W-8. If you're the company, you fill out the W-8 Benny. Or there are different ones like IMY, and depending on the type of company you are.
What is the IMY for?
It's a foundation and trust.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah, you don't have to get into that, but IMY. But what, yeah. So the IMY in there, no, the 8, yeah. No,
I've seen the.
W9, the W8, and the,
Sidebar,
yeah. So what has to happen is a lot of broker dealers, we had a lot of broker dealer come. It is? Okay. Okay, we had a lot of broker dealers come in, and we couldn't determine, like, sometimes they they consider themselves asset managers as well. And so we didn't know if they were only trading or what other services they were offering, and sometimes they didn't even know how to classify themselves. And so what the IRS suggested that we do is send them to their competent authority and make them fill it out. They discuss it and then they advise us that the IRS has confirmed, yes, this is the correct tax category that they should be in. Because we had a lot of BNEs where we should have IMYs, and then there's something else that you may be familiar. You familiar? No, I'm saying not all of them. It really depends on the services that they are offering. And so that's why it's important to know your customer. Okay? So we had some broker dealers, and then we had like some what they call omnibus accounts. And so the omnibus accounts were higher risk. And so a lot of people they tried to avoid, the private banking centers tried to avoid saying that they offered, that service and stuff like that. And so when we had a problem with QI, when we were filling out our qualified intermediary information, and so we had extensive talk with the IRS. And so basically they said, like, we had a BNE on one file, and they said, no, this person should not have filled out a BNE. They should have filled out a IMY. And so we said, so how do we know? And they said, well, see, this is the services that they listed. I said, when we tried to get more information from them, they said they don't do that any longer, or that license was canceled, and what have you. Sometimes they do change. Sometimes one arm of their institution do, shut down. And so what they said is, these forms expire every 3 years. So that's why persons create their own FACA form. So if you using our form, every 3 years you send them to us and let us, confirm to them that this is the correct form that they should fill out. Yeah. When those asset managers offering broker-dealer service, omnibus service, or those different type of things, because there's no way for you to know. The bank expects you to know because you are compliant, but there's no way. We don't have that extensive tax training, right? But you will get fined if you don't have the right form. And so because we had reached out to them for help, they gave us this is a training period. After this, you were supposed to know. And of course, compliance is supposed to know. Right? Okay. So we understand it. So that's how he expects the offshore centers to do. So we can't say, and I have heard people say, we're not US, so therefore they can't do anything to us if we don't have those W8s and W9s on file. We're not US. And in fact, the Wolfsburg, once you offer correspondent banking service, there's a Wolfsburg questionnaire that comes out. It used to be 28 questions. It was 200 last year. When all the laws were revamped, I think the world did a revamp. The FATF started doing mutual evaluations, and they clamped down. They said, listen, there's too many deficiencies. So no longer is it a 28 question survey. It's 200 questions now. One of the questions now say, are you compliant with Section 319 of the U.S. Patriot Act? One person said, we're not U.S., just put not applicable. And again, we tried to explain that it's extra territorial. We offer securities, we in the U.S. market. Even if it was an extra territorial, we offer in U.S. securities. So you know, but they said no, send it out to the bank, and of course, the bank slapped that right back. This is incomplete. No, this is incorrect. If you're not compliant with section 319 of the Patriot Act, even though you're a Bahamian institution, they cannot accept your business. That account, they said it has, we don't send that back within 5 business days, this account has to close. And again, we're offshore, we're only offering to foreign clients, and they send wires all day. So what that meant was no wire would go out tomorrow for anybody. Right. So you see how important it is, right? And so our correspondent bank, let's say we had one in Switzerland, we had one in the US. The next one says, make these institutions that you offer this correspondent banking service to high risk. So let's say perhaps at a Scotiabank, and it may not be so. We are a regulated company. We let's say we had an account at Scotiabank. We are a regulated company in the Bahamas, so we are exempt from bringing in the KYC, right? Because we're regulated. Central Bank says, trust me, I have all of that stuff on file. If you need it, if there's any problem, you come to us. We'll deal with them for you, right? So let's say possibly Scotiabank has us as no, Scotiabank wouldn't have us as low risk. That's a bad example because we offer correspondent banking service. So on Scotiabank's form, they should be asking us, do you offer correspondent banking service? Do you accept bearer shares? Do you accept, what else is high risk? Do you have PEPs? Right, so all of that right there would make us high risk. Because what I was trying to say is possibly at the Scotiabank locally, we would be low risk, but to the bank that had our account that did our wires, we would be high, but no, we would be high across because of the services that we offer, because we have like 4 very high risk on the risk rating. We understand? Right, okay, good. So just to give you what, when the US Patriot Act says these things, this is why I put it in place. This is what foreign jurisdictions or foreign financial institutions must do. We understand how it's being enforced, and it must be done.
Yes.
Be good at talking to me.
Yes.
Just making it clear? Burrows? Good? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so again, this section 319 always comes up. So ensure that you know it. And what does it allow? Now it's in place, it's in force, and we know that it's in force here. What does it allow them to do?
To seize accounts. Seize funds in a US account if those funds are held for a non-US bank and the proceeds are of unlawful activity. This means that if a foreign bank has an interbank account in the US with a covered financial institution, the funds shall be deemed to have been deposited into the interbank account in the US, and any restraining order, seizure warrant, or arrest warrant regarding the funds may be served on the covered financial institution, and funds in the interbank account up to the value of the funds deposited into the account of the foreign bank may be restrained or seized.
Okay, yeah. So again, they created the system to all run through the Bank of New York or some bank in the United States that, you know, if you are offering correspondent banking service. And most banks offer correspondent banking service. Even let's say like a Commonwealth Bank, if they don't have, let's say they send their wires through a correspondent bank to Royal or Scotia or like a Fidelity, a smaller bank. Again, all of this applies to them, even if it's a third party, or all of that applies to them. Okay, so they can't say, but the US can't do anything with us, right? And so that leads me to my next concern of persons doing business with Venezuela. And we're going on to talk about sanctions, right? So Venezuela right now, for the past couple of months, has been heavily sanctioned. I think persons were still doing, you know, most Bahamian banks have a Venezuelan book, right? The president came out and said he is going to enhance, you know, he has appointed his own president for Venezuela and trying to put him in place, and the countries are not supporting him. right? Some like Russia said no, China said no, because if I allow you to go in and, impose your president who you select on Venezuela, next thing you know, you would want to come impose it on me. So, they say, no, we don't support this, right? And so, how are we still, if America says cease and desist by March 28th, I think because the sanctions have been in place from Obama time, they just increased. They put a little bit more meat in them, and then they gave a deadline. Cease and desist all transactions, all of this with Venezuela, right? One of our correspondent banks called us on the phone and said, listen, we noticed that you send a lot of wires with the person's address being as Venezuela. It may be going to any part of the world, but because their address is Venezuela, we don't have an appetite for that. Don't send any of those wires to us, right? And that wasn't even an American country. That was a European country that said we don't have an appetite. Okay, so how? And Burroughs, you may be able to answer this.
I was going to ask you something because I'm not privy to how they handle it. They put a freeze on all the accounts related to Venezuela until we can get directors and how to proceed.
Okay.
I don't know how they're managing the risk of that because if I'm a client and I put my money in the Bahamas and I expect to be serviced, okay, and now I can access my funds, I can't trade, I can't do anything. I don't know how the financial industry has pretty much mitigated the risk of their reputation because we have to be compliant on one side.
Right, yeah.
But at the same time, we have obligation to the client, like you said, doesn't even have to be an American bank who let us know that we can't do business.
Right.
Okay? Now I've not been in that particular, so I don't know what compliance approach. I just shifted to the banks. I don't know what they did.
Okay.
But I'm guessing the whole industry is pretty much on the same thing, which is cease and desist.
Right.
So what now happens with our Venezuelan clients? I don't know.
Well, let's think about the clients. Okay, so let me tell you what really happens in Venezuela. All of the, that's the oil capital of the world, right? And the government, all of the sanctions are on PDVSA. Anybody, y'all familiar with PDVSA? Okay, PDVSA is like the Shell or the Focal Oil, the local oil company. And their government ain't like our government who is going to give you a contract to fix the sidewalk or the building. What Simonet resigned over, like you don't just go get a contract to pave the road or to refurbish the airport or what have you. No, every contract is a joint venture with the government. And so that means if I am in a joint venture with the government and the government owns 60%, you own 40%, I'm now a PEP. Right? Think about it. And so the sanction is on PDVSA, which is owned by the government. So everybody, which is everybody who has money in Venezuela, the person who is bring the oil, the trucking company that is bring the oil, the person who drilling, the boats that out there, whatever, all of them, the gas stations, everything owned by the government. So every account, Venezuelan account, where you see there's a contract with PDVSA.
Why is that sanction?
Because that's owned by the government. The government is sanctioned. And like I say, in Venezuela, they are the oil capital of the world. Again, of course the U.S. wants to have their person in the oil capital of the world. So that's why nobody's supporting Trump on just putting that president in place.
Besides the Bahamas.
Right. So it's twofold. Yeah, the people are suffering, right? But again, it shouldn't be Trump. They do need a less corrupt president so there shouldn't be political unrest in Venezuela. Because if you are the oil capital of the world, you should be one of the richest countries in the world, but they're not. Okay, the people ain't eating. They run into the border. They starving. They rioting every day. The richest country in the world should be, right? And so you have to look deeper into it. But anyway, they are sanctioned, right? And so all those people who have accounts with us, who have these contracts with PDVSA, are also sanctioned. And there really should be no transactions going on with them. But all of these Bahamian banks have Venezuelan book, millions of dollars, because the innocent person, I own the gas station, I own Rubis. The money fluctuates. The other day it was $250,000 to $1 US. And that's crazy. So today you have $250,000 in your account. Tomorrow that worth $1. So of course what you would do, get that money out the country where until this mess clear up, my money, and they don't care that it's frozen, you know. My money will sit on that Bahamian bank account because it's still on the Bahamian bank account. That's $250,000. If I bring that to Venezuela, that's $1, right? And so they putting all sorts of things in place to deter, to enforce, to overthrow this government. Okay? And so, as compliance officers, again, we back to the risk appetite of your business. Your company says, let's freeze all these accounts. My company says, they don't have, which has U.S. owners, say, we are a Bahamian bank, there's nothing they can do to us. They are outside of their jurisdiction, but are they really? Because we offer correspondent banking service. And our other bank says, I have no appetite for Venezuela at all. Again, that's a control. This is too risky. We don't know what to do. I am not going to pay somebody to watch the sanctions be enforced, not enforced. You know what I mean? Imagine you're the compliance officer. They will not hire just a compliance officer to man a Venezuelan book unless you have billions of dollars, and especially a book that ain't moving now because it can't.
They can't close them necessarily.
They can hold the money though. Yeah. So basically that's what they're doing. They holding the money whilst it's sanctioned. This clear? We having this conversation. I need everybody to participate and at least understand. Right? And then you need to understand, because you are to ensure that the bank is compliant. The sanctions are out there. The U.S. has this extraterritorial right. We offer correspondent banking. What do you do? What do you do? Again, you don't know what to do, right? Contact your regulator. Let them know again. That's why the compliance officer meeting with the regulator once per year. Mandatory meeting once a year. They created an analytics department where everybody, the Securities Commission as well as the central bank, the regulators, assign a officer, a private bank, not a private banker, but an account officer that you could call and document your concerns. But by all means, don't sit in that position worrying every time you see that transaction go through. If your company has not decided to let's freeze this until this clear up, because we can't pay nobody and it is too risky and you really don't know. Right? And why is it risky? Because of the sanctions. That's why we talk just one. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody know that we're talking about sanctions. Right? Okay? Another thing that is very risky. So we have these systems in the background that all of our transactions go through. So every time we have a wire, our system is set up to the compliance system that will give us a hit, a trigger that says, hey, this country is sanctioned, the Russian Federation. So you will see when your transactions go through, and a lot of Bahamian banks just don't deal with these things because, again, they say this is outside of our risk appetite. We're not going to pay somebody to go and spend hours to investigate whether or not we could go to jail for sending this transaction. But again, private banking has, with all this regulation, a lot of private banking, remember, 17% of GDP, most of that was private banks. Too much regulation in place, they just shut out the industry, right? A lot of trust companies too close, it just wasn't worth it any longer. But there are some boutique banks that are out there saying, hey, we see this as an opportunity. Nobody else doing business with Venezuela, we could do business with Venezuela.
In regards to that, if their stocks and everything fluctuating because everything owned by the government, you don't think it'd be wise now to purchase a lot of things and sit and wait because you could get it at a penny or a dollar?
Yeah, but
So
There's a sanction on the bonds too.
That's what I'm about to ask
Yeah.
now. As a compliance officer, have you seen persons buying, going in to buy a lot of stuff? And they saying they have no problem seizing, letting the stuff, their assets be frozen until. Does that pose a red flag for anything or?
Again, it depends on the risk appetite of your business, because like some businesses says, face those accounts until this open. We gotta look at it. They're going up against the US. The US been at war for 75 years.
Great.
Okay? So that means they don't bow down, they're adamant. When you look at, I think I may be saying it wrong, but in terms of missiles and atomic bombs and stuff like that, the US has 2,000, China is next in line with 30. Y'all see the Chinese army like that?
Yeah.
Okay, they have 30 atomic bombs or missiles or what have you. You see that Ortec base in Andros? You know why y'all can't go nowhere around that? Ask the divers what they have there. Submarine, about 1,000 of them missiles right there. Right there in Andros. Okay? So I don't know if anybody wants to go up against the US. That's what you're dealing with when you talk about war and we could fight this or we could wait. So they could wait it out. But there have to be a lot of killing, a lot of innocent people will die, and then those stocks will go up. But again, they'll be owned by the US, and the US could say, we don't honor them. You never know. It's a money war.
It's really smart. It's really smart.
What?
The US has control over
Yeah.
strategically
Yeah.
by
You have to.
their military costs and their currency.
Right.
Because when they took their money off the gold standard, they pretty much have their value of their dollar tied to their military might.
Hmm. And that's why they.
leverage that and now make like say US dollar a global currency, and I'll just say any dollar passes through the world has to go through New York,
Yeah.
so that we can prosecute crimes anywhere.
This is why.
Oil now, which is why
They want Venezuela.
the oil countries in the Middle East won't accept nothing but the US dollar.
Right.
for
And
oil.
so therefore, you have to look at the bigger picture. See, the news says a lot of stuff, and that's if the news say it, we believe it, and that's the end of the story. But a lot of things are put out there just to brainwash us.
Yep.
With these political campaigns and stuff like that. You know when the US is make their biggest move? On Super Bowl Sunday.
And
Everybody watching the Super Bowl. Or the NBA playoffs. Because the world glued to the TV that. And they will now report that we bombed Yemen or we did this or we did that on those days. Nobody would even know. And they'll say that one report, yeah, we ran the report because they're required to. And that was the end of the story right there. Because everybody concerned with the Super Bowl for the next 2 weeks. Okay? It's called strategy. And most people only look at the foundation. We too lazy, we don't like to read. We don't like to understand. We don't know why these things happen. We accept anybody. If somebody say it, well, yeah, they right. Right?
football is sponsored by the defense, by the military, right?
I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
That's why the players wasn't supposed to kneel in defense of the killings of the black men by the police.
Yeah. It's always a bigger story. And not only they want control of Venezuela, Trump owed Russia $550 million. Trump known for he's a good businessman, he just goes and does bankruptcy. You could go do bankruptcy on Putin?
Nope.
You could do that?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So therefore, Russia has a very large oil reserve. They have this country called Kazakhstan. Very, very large oil reserve back in the day. Sovereign fund. Everybody used to get money, just like Morocco. If you live in Morocco, I think, or Monaco, you get like $3,000 a month as a citizen from the natural resources.
That's what the US doesn't like.
Right. And so it's Monaco. Yeah, so that's with Kazakhstan. We should be getting it too.
That's what Venezuela is.
Right. So we should be getting it from Aragonite.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one family again gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Hollow Wesco family gets that. Yeah.
US likes capitalism.
Pardon?
Put it together.
We knew about it.
What do you mean?
Yeah, we know.
Time.
You know what I recognize from my was in this I in primary school. They spoke about the natural resources. The thing that they put in Campari, what it is, chick Johnny, something, the bark,
I same thing with
and the aragonite. We learned that in social studies.
I same thing with the sand.
Yeah, that's the aragonite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They victimize countries that do that. They pay citizens money, right? Call it, they label it socialism, say it's scary.
Yeah.
And go in and try to mess with their whole system.
Right.
Because they want the whole world to subscribe to capitalism.
Right.
Is what they.
But so 8 people, like GE owns half of America. 8 people in whole America own the whole America, just like our number. 8 people own the number, all the number houses. Not the national lottery like every other country. 8 people.
The World Bank, is owned by a family.
Okay.
That's not a public.
The Rockefellers or something. Yeah.
It's the same thing in Trinidad.
Federal
We have like
Reserve
about
is-
5
is-
companies.
is a private entity, that's
Yeah.
not public.
Yeah. So these are good. This is good. These are the type of things you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to do research. You have to dive deep and say, wait, this doesn't make sense. So back to Trump and Russia. So Trump paying Putin $550 million. So he is trying to find a way. I can't do bankruptcy on Putin because my whole family will be dead. So how do I pay this $550 million back? Okay? And you know how? Russian oil can sell for less than $65 a barrel for them to be able to make a profit. And so therefore, once they overthrow the government, take over Venezuela, remember oil used to be like $120 a barrel, then it dropped to 70, then it dropped when Obama said, I might as well drill right here in America. So the people in Iran said, I will make oil so cheap that it will cost you more to drill in America than to get it from us. So they dropped it to $28 a barrel. I think it back up to like 60-ish now. But it's still, I think it's about $60. But again, Putin can make a profit unless it's 65. And once they could get Venezuela, they'll put it, you'll see it go back up to 65 or 70. Then, of course, where everybody going to run because Cuba gets all its oil from Venezuela. And gas in Cuba costs 15 cents. So they have to stabilize all that. How much it is again? You Google it?
It's 15 cents. Trinidad is 10 cents.
Okay. And we paying almost $5, right? Don't go to one of the islands. $56.
Don't forget now, the previous government, when Leslie Miller was there at the time, he was negotiating with Venezuela. And Condoleezza Rice, I think, came here.
And said,
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
They want America want
You have to make. They have to make that
Listen to what I
tax
said
for.
now. She came here because I was attached to the SWAT detail with it. And for 4 days, they was there negotiating. And after that, we never heard of it anymore. The only thing Venezuela told our government to do was say they were going to sell them oil at 25 cents per gallon. Sell it to your people at $1 per gallon. And you was to 75 cents per gallon to beef up military, education, and healthcare. And because of that, Ms. Condoleezza Rice flew there and
Oh,
that was it.
okay.
What happens is America
Yeah,
wants to buy.
I see you in shock. That
Yeah.
was the negotiating before she came.
America wants us to buy oil from America,
Right,
whatever,
right.
when they buy it from Venezuela.
Right,
Yes.
right, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, that's what happens,
That was
yeah.
their profit.
But you
How do
see
count
too,
it in money, is
Trump called for minister today and everybody had an uproar. But he called to talk about the Chinese influence. So they always intervene. They always say, listen, this is what you should do.
But we can understand the Chinese situation.
Yeah, but for them to stay, yeah, well,
I couldn't
yeah.
understand that.
yeah,
It's
okay.
$57 per barrel.
It's 57, so Putin needs it at 65, and that's only what $5-6, but that will be equivalent to like millions of dollars, right? So he can make a profit. So therefore, Trump is trying to find a way to get that. I guess once they overthrow Venezuela, to get that to $65, or get oil to $70. So Putin will sell it at 65. So the world is gonna go where it's cheapest, right?
Right.
And then that $550 million will be settled, and he'll live.
Yeah.
Okay? And his family will live. Okay? So that's all it is. I have to pay this debt because I cannot. I am president, I am 70, I gotta clear up all this debt. And he done do bankruptcies 13 times. Okay, and when they did a review, y'all watch Dirty Money?
Yeah.
You were supposed to put it in the group.
I haven't watched it as yet.
There's a picture, there's one there on Trump as well.
The last one's on Trump.
The last one, you watched it? You see how he doesn't own anything? Or he owned like 2 of the hotels out of the 14 or something like that? Yeah, watch it so y'all will see the bigger picture and how really corrupt the world is. Yes.
But they still
Yeah.
not giving us money though, like, yeah.
We don't want it.
And in the newspapers, he just kept putting his name out there,
Okay, strategy. See, that's just it. We need to be strategists.
Boxing fights and everything.
We need to be strategists. We don't think. And we don't, why we don't think? We don't have enough knowledge. We don't sit down and read and think. And that's what we need to do. You can't just look at the surface. It's never the surface, it's always the bigger picture. That's how you make money and that's how you stay rich. Influence, we don't even want to go out and network. Okay? I live near a shopping center. This shopping center had one shop in it, was going down. I let my nephew open up one shop, that didn't survive. I let my niece open up a shop, that didn't survive. But now, after 20 years, now you use my friend and you will look out for me because my shopping center, I about to retire and I really ain't make no money and I still have a big mortgage on this shopping center. So I ain't gonna call the correct names, so cause y'all don't know. So guess who just opened up in that shopping center? McDonald's and a KFC. I ain't giving the right name so y'all wouldn't know. Okay? Tell me that ain't a favor. It just happens now. The person who in position to advise these people, you're looking to open up a new location, this is where I go. And of course, big name brands like that, they paying that rent, they paying that on time, and that's where if I did let my nephew continue to have a little convenience store out of that and a little pet store, I was getting one little $1,500 a month. I guarantee you, they're getting about $10,000 a month. And I slap you back on the wrist. That's my network. Because I am in position now, and these people, we ain't doing nothing wrong, these people do need to go in to new buildings, or they opening up new locations. So even though I may be way in the back of Cowpen Road, McDonald's out there, where they wouldn't even look. You know what I mean? Places they wouldn't even go, or they haven't been for so many years. Network. Okay? Network is who you know. I might not have it now, but in 30 years, when I was the PM, you will wish you did have my number, right? Don't take it for granted. Everybody in here is a future leader. Everybody in here will make a difference. Right? And we know that we have to do it ourselves. Get these numbers, befriend these people, and you'll be just as successful as them so you can help them too. Okay? Because when I was the PM, I don't take calls and borrows who? What class? 20 years ago? Is she crazy? Okay, there you go. Borrows, I need your number before you leave. There you go. Okay, so we know the U.S. Patriot Act. We know what it is. George Bush created it to combat. He had 3 reasons why, or things that he wanted to enforce. We know one was on offshore centers to get us under control and ensure that we do some things. We know that it's extra territorial. We know that it permits them to seize and freeze.
Seize and freeze.
Right.
Seize and freeze.
Yeah. And even get tried in the United States and then say, come get tried in the Bahamas. You know? We read the FATFA report so we can understand their overall strategy and be able to answer those questions. Then proliferation financing. Anybody can explain that? Proliferation financing. You know what that word is?
Yeah, to do
Okay.
with financing of weapons. Mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction.
That's a 10-point question.
I mean, I'm just, I mean, give details.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Proliferation financing.
Of mass destruction.
Okay. Pardon?
You said it's something.
Proliferation.
No, I was asking, you said something, what it was, something.
Yeah, I say what it. I say ask you what it is.
What it is.
Look at your homework. It's right there. Page 24. And look what it says. Another report. So we could definitely read that, because in August, that was another thing that we had to update and make sure that proliferation financing was added. I think it falls under recommendation 7. We had to ensure that all of our policies, procedures were updated to include that. And so what happened is, you know our Bible, the central bank guidelines. If you look at an earlier version, let me see, no, this August, so as of August, before this, the one I think was May,
Was me.
yeah, May 2009, eh?
No.
Yeah,
It was 2000.
17, May 2017. If you look at the May 2017, you shouldn't see under proliferation financing.
Okay.
So all of this was updated and added in 2018. They put it in laws and what have you. I can't tell you the exact date, but at least you know. Yeah, so recommendation 7, I think, had to be, again, put some meat in it. It had to be one of our deficiencies and explain what it is and what it means to combat proliferation financing. Now, after we explain that, we had to go into our, remember now, it comes from the law, then to the guidelines from central bank, and then our AML, because I think we had an audit. An audit recommended that, you know, they gave us like 6 months to update our AML internal policy to include that. And basically what we had to put in was just a paragraph that says, these are what we consider undesirable accounts, and any account that supports proliferation financing. Right? So think about it, you're the compliance officer, these are the type of things that happen. You have a person wanting to open up an account. This person provides machinery to the, which government? Yahoo is who? Benjamin. Is that it?
Benjamin, no.
Yahoo. Okay, so let's just say that this person provides machinery to build Israel. Yahoo is Israel. The ammunition capital of the world, I think. I could be wrong. Right? And so we want to open this account with the institution in the Bahamas. We provide machinery for ammunition or for tanker trucks, or we build these for the Israeli government. Can you open that account? Why? What's wrong with the Israeli government?
Because they have countries that are listed as banks from doing any type of transactions with them at all.
Yeah, they do. Okay, so when you, again, that's what I started to talk about before I went into to Trump and Russia. When the system's in the back, you get a transaction. It says, I want to send this money to Russia. The Russian Federation, once you have that on a wire, automatically you get a hit. But Russia isn't sanctioned. A lot of, again, in the Bahamas, institutions, remember I told you, the Canadians are very conservative. So you'll see the Canadians saying, I don't have an appetite for Russia. However, the Swiss, not so conservative. Of course we do business with Russia. No problem here at all. So what you have to do as the relationship manager as well as compliance is know what in Russia is sanctioned. Let's just say in Russia, lumber is sanctioned. And so therefore, you cannot send any payments to Russia for lumber. Right? If this person say this is my child's school fee, they go to college in Russia, you could send through that payment. But every single time a payment comes through for Russia, you have to ensure that you sign off on that and that is checked before that is processed, because you will be going to jail. Because let's just say the last time it was lumber, and this time it may be school fees, because again, Trump is in talks with, what's his name, North Korea, and he is in, sometimes him and Putin are besties and next minute they fighting. So that's how stringent, I mean, you have to be. You have to put your controls in place, and now next chapter is going to talk about risk assessment. What controls will you have in place as a compliance officer to ensure that none of these sanctions are breached?
So can I ask a question? When I was reading the notes about the proliferation financing, and they spoke about the dual use goods, how, I mean, I'm sure they probably have things in place to determine. I mean, some things are obvious. Okay, you're not going to take a client who you know for sure is dealing with weapons. But when a client comes to you and some of the components of what they're doing could be used, how will you always know? Like, for example, they have things like software technology.
You can't say that. You ain't going to take a client who providing weapons and technology to the Israeli government. You will take a client who providing it to the U.S. That was going to be my point.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
If this person provides, and we know that the U.S., when they do their budget every year, they spend billions, $80 billion on weaponry and the army and fighting and war. That's their number one budget, going to war, right? Will you? That's just it. This is why I say you have to be so diverse. Will you turn down that U.S. account? Will you? You will. George Bush come up with this. Remember, weapons of mass destruction, and people thought he was crazy, and so of course he had to not go down in history as crazy. So they had to push and make this. And something had to come out of it to save him, because after they killed Saddam, there were no weapons. They didn't find anything. And they know that if, again, they have 2,000, China have 30, so everybody else have two-ish.
You don't think that's kind of hypocritical? Because
I know.
I just tell you, look at the bigger picture. What I hold. I already, you cannot read on the surface why these things happen. This a ego thing. This listen.
But why the
So question, you think a country that spends $18 billion a year on defense and military could really let planes fly in their airspace for about 2 hours unmolested to get to their targets?
I couldn't say unmolested.
Okay, right, you're right, but back in 2000 now.
Unmolested.
Now, not today, but back in 2000, yes.
Think so?
I mean, it's a conspiracy theory that they created it, right? And after they left Afghanistan, left all the tankers there, left all the guns there, all the, you know, I was like,
popping up left and right.
yeah,
in
so
different countries.
I say something wrong. Yeah, I did turn on. I said, wait a minute, y'all did leave all these things there. You trying to tell me? I don't know if y'all
They
see
driving
something.
brand new Toyota trucks.
I see the weaponry going on one train to whatever country, and you can tell me you couldn't bring it back out of the country still on that train. Like, it costs you, the U.S. too much money to bring it back. So leave them armed and secure to fight you the next time you come. Like, really?
You want to think I saw a picture when they were building the United States, the World Trade Centers, and the construction of a bomber did actually crash into the building, right?
The first one.
And did very minimal damage because the plane disintegrated, because that building is made of however thick concrete, however thick steel. And they showed people like standing on the edge, like when it was damaged. It was an old picture. So you mean to tell me an aircraft, not even those kind of same materials today, would have completely disintegrated this building okay? I just
Firstly,
don't
it hit so high and then the building falls
Falls
on
straight
top of
down.
itself like
And who will be dealing with strategists, right?
But it is,
strategist.
but you
That's
see,
a
but you see
control
how
demolition.
you see how reactionary the word became though, because that didn't happen and that fair
If
was
that
in
didn't
place.
happen,
None
Yes.
of this,
Ah.
none of this
Ah.
would have been.
Exactly.
And who make the millions of dollars from all of this coming into place?
Them same private families,
Same.
them same oil, the same.
Who's writing laws?
The same people
Some
with them.
people.
Who owned the World Trade Center?
Okay.
Same
I mean the
people.
government.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
president.
Yeah, so yeah, read not on the surface. But it gets scary when you realize these things. You know?
Is there one for last week? I didn't see one of them.
Yeah, so look at the bigger picture. Okay? So across the world, George Bush couldn't, and I actually liked George Bush. I didn't like everything about it, but I liked him.
The comparison is great, but.
You know what I liked about it? You know,
Trump.
he used to be, George Bush Jr. was an alcoholic. And I was inspired by him overcoming alcoholism and becoming the president. And then Castro at that time, while he was president, the Cuban paper is called La Gama. Castro wrote the entire paper. So again, control. I want y'all to know. And so he always wrote on George Bush and saying that the reason why George Bush thinks there are weapons of mass destruction is because he was an alcoholic, and alcoholics, even though they may overcome alcoholism, they hallucinate. And so that was about his hallucination. So yeah, you can't just read our paper. You have to be, you know what I mean? Yeah, study these very great minds. I was always very impressed too with Saddam. But study these people. I mean, they have good things that you can learn from them. They are strategists, and this is how you learn to not just, I need to achieve this goal. I won't achieve it by walking to the back of the class. I have to put some things in play to make it work. So a lot of people aren't strategists. You can't win if you're not a strategist. You have to know the bigger picture.
Gaddafi, he was president of,
India, Libya. You know, Flowers worked for Gaddafi. He was his pilot.
Yep.
That's where his first set of money came from.
He was great now.
I'll get his own independent currency,
I
get
just
his
want
own
to say,
independent bank.
he's
People.
living on
Yeah.
a gold standard. That's why they pay him.
Yep.
Actually, the culture American life.
No, he was making
He was gonna make Africa strong.
Yeah.
Sure, right.
You know that.
Yeah, so read these things and read about these people, and this is how you become great. Because a lot of things happen in history, right? And a lot of people still making mistakes. Like the other day, Reynard, I think, and we talked about this, Reynard guy who was not a politician, he in the Senate, he went out there and he say, we fighting for all these things. And a lot of people just go out there in the what you call that place down there? In the square, Boston Square, and they what they do? They riot. They have their placards and whatever, right? But when was the last riot that actually worked and accomplished something? There you go. What happened? They blocked the stores. The tourists couldn't get in the stores, and so you affected. That's right. When you don't affect people's money, they don't. You could go out to Russell's here 1,000 times. You could go there every day with your card, and we could. That's all it was. A talk. It was a mockery because all of Leslie Miller wanted to have something to say. What kind of we riding against you? Who is the government now? And you want to talk? Like what kind of garbage? Foolishness is that? They made a mockery of that. And look how many people they got to help them make a mockery of themselves. When you're going to do these things, you go and look at history. When did the last time a riot was successful? What did they do? I have to affect your pocket. Then you listen. That's how you get change. But talking, we talk all day and nothing has happened. Talk till my mouth dry. Yeah, we just talk.
You know what's interesting about that though? If you were to do something like that today, right? Not violent, it's simply like block off the money, do a strategic boycotting, okay? They'll label us as having social unrest, which is when you look at
especially private banking, offshore banking, one thing, so they have their brochures about why you should do business inside the Bahamas, that we're a peaceful country, we don't have any, major labor disputes, we don't have violence, riots, stable government, undisturbed democracy, these are the things that make people feel secure about putting their money in. Okay? Even if, let's say, that would get about the change we want, or whatever we was doing it for.
Would it be worth it?
Okay,
Or what would be the
where it look now, you understand,
Yeah.
those things like precaution, I'm not saying these things don't happen, but, you think about it, you say the countries that, let's say, cruise ships visit, right? And you have people who target tourists, unfortunately, and I believe they should be held to the same, standard, arrest them, prosecute them and everything. But specifically when they put notices on cruise ships, behind the door saying, be careful when you go out to the Bahamas, you know what I mean? The crime rate is really high, where you go and everything. And we live here, and we know that it may happen, but not to the extent where we feel like we're stigmatized an entire country, where you actually have countries along these same cruise ship routes, right? That are so actually so different, and so such high crime rate. You've actually separated all together. You go to Mexico, you won't go to Mexico, you go to Cozumel, which is an offshoot island that they got people from Mexico right there. They come and they visit and work, and then they go back home.
Yeah, I don't know. A couple of those countries are so bad they just take you to one of those private islands.
Places.
Yeah.
They're trying to do it now.
Yeah, like they go to Coco Key and the Disney Key but like you say, man, I understand, like you say, the net effect, right? But we lost 78% GDP in banking, so we were at the point where we had already lost, so we needed to do something. The country was so bad, we lost 17%, 3% left. Let's affect their pocket.
Again, let's say we would do that once, right? And we get that stigma. If you look at the countries who riot when they're paying high enough, and taxes too high, and they want healthcare, they riot non-stop. Right.
Okay, excuse me one minute. Keep talking though.
But they're not giving that same stigma. You know what I mean? They're fighting for their rights. Okay? It has a whole different impact. They don't have the same repercussions we have. We're not violent by nature. And so if we actually were to organize a peaceful blockade without the case, we could do it successfully without the violence ensuing. Even the taxi people were protesting with Paris Island, they must even break down a fence, and that was just all over the front doors, because that was as violent as we could get. Okay?
But to be honest with you, we are not violent in Trinidad, but we are the only Caribbean country that had a coup in 1990. That took over the government, and that was, I don't know if any of you are aware of that.
Yeah.
But that was very violent. They took, and I probably was, I was in Trinidad then. They took over the government. And people thought it was a joke because Trinidad is known to be very laid back, fun, laugh, carnival. And I'm coming from work one day, and all of a sudden all the television stores in the windows were basically showing the Prime Minister with a gun behind his head. And we were thinking it's some sort of like skit or play, because we have a lot of these local plays that they were showing. And people were walking on the street and say, I think they've overthrown the government, very casually. And they're like, no, they can't be serious. 10 hours later, I wasn't able to get home. I think I got home from work like 2 o'clock in the morning, because it was so difficult to get transport again. And it was horrible. They burned most of the stores on the main street, and people got killed and everything like that. And the whole thing was based on a concern that the government was, you guys have a lot of government crown land. We were having an issue where the government basically was holding land. You all have some issues like that here, like the chippy and chipman circumstance. We had several things like that, and they were tired of the government taking control of the land. And a Muslim group got together with real Muslims, the violent Muslims, and they were training for years, and nobody knew. And 115 of them stormed the city and burned everything down and took over the government and held the government hostage for almost 6 days.
Wow.
But if you type in Trinidad and Tobago coup, you'll get all the details on it.
Yeah, but that's the same thing they did to Saddam.
Yeah.
If it's Saddam, Afghanistan, or with Iraqi, think about it. We live. Our Mecca is Bay Street, right? Imagine somebody coming and bomb Bay Street, kill the center of commerce, whatever. That's what they did to Saddam. Saddam country was striving. They had money. They were working on a sovereign fund, so all the people could get the same money back every month and survive. They was booming. And that's what the US did, because Saddam, I think, won the war in the Gulf against George Senior. And so therefore George Junior had to, do that for his daddy. And so therefore they killed his Iraq, I think it was. Yeah, they bombed the center, cut out all the commerce. The people didn't have jobs, and they kept bombing. They killed millions of people, and then they went after Saddam. So what was Saddam to do? How was he supposed to survive and keep his country striving? If somebody do that to us, we won't survive. Trinidad, how long before you all settled after that?
It took about, we had curfews for like about 2 months, so we couldn't go anywhere after 6 p.m. in the afternoon. And the businesses, of course, it took about a year or more for the businesses to recover, because they burned several businesses as well.
Right. But see, y'all wasn't sanctioned.
No,
After,
we weren't.
imagine being
weren't.
sanctioned after that, because that's them what they do.
Exactly.
So nobody in the world can help you.
Right.
But at
Because
least
you know,
y'all were
because
able
we-
to get help.
Up until that time, and things have changed a bit. We were don't want to use the word independent, but you could basically say self-sufficient. And we have oil, and on the basis of oil, we also had a strong agricultural sector. Most things were manufactured in Trinidad. We don't depend on anybody in a major way for food at that time. So as she's saying, if we were, then we would have had a real problem.
Right.
Because, but that's the next thing. Self-sufficiency in itself is scary for these other countries, because they're not going to control you.
Yeah, like
You
Cuba.
don't need
Cuba
that.
is very self-sufficient.
And they hate that. And actually,
Yeah, but it's better. The crime rate is very low.
I went there, no, I
They
went
are
there.
a sex capital of the world, and they have the lowest STD and AIDS rate. They have no pesticides. Everybody's slim. If you go to Cuba, no pesticides, no.
And the thing is,
overeating.
apart from Cuba, apart from the infrastructure, because you see the devastation in the infrastructure. I went there and I visited, it was nice and everything, but I couldn't live. I didn't realize how, just even the buildings, being so dilapidated.
No maintenance at all.
It was very depressing for me. But other than that, I realized, Castro had his own terms. He had just as much balls, even more, to say, no matter what we do, we struggle to get up.
Right.
As opposed to playing a puppet to
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
But again, and people, you've had the different stories about how America paints Cuba. Now Cubans paint Cuba, and Cuba, they might have the same liberties and everything, but they say, you know what, they ain't as bad as the Americans make it seem. Like we go around heavy slaves to our country, and we can't do nothing and everything that we live in.
Look at us, we have a murder every day. Don't we need some control?
Yeah.
Do we not? Look at our hospitals, look at our education. You don't have no D average in Cuba. People go in there to be educated. Look at the medical. Yes, there you go.
The problem remains is we don't know how to stay together, and then we don't take people serious until. Speaking on that, why I get said it is because you realize how national health insurance was such a big thing, and then all of a sudden it's just smooth, right? Okay. What really caused both governments to change their mind is because when they went to impose national health insurance, they came to the Armed Forces Police Defense Force, and they told us that our health insurance, they were going to take it away. A meeting was called to be scheduled, let's say, Monday at 4 o'clock. Every police officer and defense force officer attending that meeting, not even staff position, as long as you went in uniform. Wednesday is going to be scheduled for 2 shifts from 8 a.m. to 12 midnight. No officer going to report to it. When Shane gets in the governor, they went to headquarters Monday, and everything was smooth over in Johnson. And when they have them in the papers, and then
But right, of course. But did you read that? Did you read that report that the COB students did as a research report on the police, on the Royal Bahamas Police Force?
No, I heard about it.
Read it. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed.
It was just and the only thing how it was done was that on that day, that Monday, everyone would work with an 8 to 4 shift. They were scheduled, as long the 4 to 12 shift to go to the meeting, already the report set. Those who want 8 to 4, you can't force me to work overtime. So administration, which is counties, had to take over the stations. And everybody was already reporting, knocking off. The commissioner called an emergency meeting, the prime minister, and asked Cuban Machine gets in. And before 6 p.m., everything was defeated. That's why they had, after that, they started to regroup and say, discuss how they would do the national insurance. This would cause everything to change, because it was already in place that even if the PLB government been on Lewis, the health insurance gonna kick right in, national is kicking, but it was gonna cripple the armed forces. And our thing was, no offense to anyone else, but I did a lot of things. There's no way in the world I could go to the hospital, sit on the side of my leg and shoot.
Right.
That kind of
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you will see how crippled the armed forces is when you read this report, because it was just I don't know if it's still out there, but it was just some COB students doing a research paper, and as they did their research, they delved deep into the force, and they were astounded, and they produced the report to the commissioner. I don't know if they still have it out there online, but it shows how deficient and how many persons per capita or something like that you should have a police officer for, or with all of that.
That's the reason why this government, like right now, they have to recruit between 800
Right,
persons.
because there's no way you can't control it. You can't. There's not. That's why it's a murder every day.
Yeah, but Bahamian people are more subtle. They don't not as violent and uproar. So that's one reason why we manage it.
Yeah.
But other than that,
And let me tell you this, in Cuba too, what I appreciated, there was a police on every corner. The only time we walked through Cuba 3 o'clock in the morning, everywhere we went, we parked the car and we just walked. They have all these old fashioned cars. We just walked because every 5 centimeters there was an officer, and not only that, if you anything against a tourist was the minimum was 15 years.
Yeah.
So nobody was gonna mess with a tourist. You see these boys down here robbing the tourists and doing all these things. No, 15 years.
And by the way, there is my husband was at Atlanta. Before I said, there is a lot of crime happening within the hotels that does not get reported. And I'm not saying that we should report it and put ourselves at a disadvantage because of what our sector is, but it's not
you would be
addressed.
horrified.
It's not addressed.
You would be horrified.
People get raped in their hotel rooms by
I
security.
didn't tell you. I think I told
happen.
it was this class. I told that one time I just stopped reading the newspaper on the crime beat because I think it was Dr. Sands who had said there were 5. It was June, and there were 546 rape cases already, and it was June. That was reported to the Princess Margaret Hospital, and I fell off my chair. 546 rape cases?
That's a lot.
I mean, I don't know.
see, but no, if you thinking rape is,
Rape?
you gotta understand the definition of rape, and it isn't the violent rape that you're thinking. Because, excuse my expression. No, listen, that's not, see, when you're saying rape, people thinking you just beat, hold down.
No, sweetie, I say no again. That's why I think you don't have to hit me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You don't have to hit me.
That's what I'm saying. I understand the different areas and different.
Sweetie? No, we're not talking about the meat. We're not talking about the meat. We're not talking about the
Weapons proliferation.
Yeah, I had started too, so everybody can come. Why I said that, right, okay, is the definition, simple as just stimulating of the vulva is considered a rape. That's a rape one. So, and now, yes, you do feel uncomfortable that it happened, occurred, but it could be a simple situation where a male just walk up to him and just rub his hand there, and he's charged. So all of this is considered. No, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know about y'all. I would be horrified if somebody walked up
it is
here.
horrified. I'm not saying that it isn't. But
I would be horrified.
These classes rape too, but then you have the word rape. I was even thinking you were held down, be forced to.
No, I think in any type of unwanted advance, I have a problem.
I'm saying all of the thing about statutory, my boyfriend 18, I 17, 16, and statutory.
Yeah.
And I'm consenting but responsible to the law. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not in every case isn't a violence.
Okay, but just to correct the reports at Princess Margaret, it's not like the Me Too movement of I blow on your neck or I rub against you. It's not those type of, because in most cases many people don't even report. So when it is reported, it's when the ones that are reported are usually the violent
But
ones.
to be honest with
Because
you,
546, I don't know.
I know that 546.
I put the paper down. I said I cannot read this private report again.
200 of those would have been modest well. A parent or a guardian knew what occurred,
Which is
and because it
That's
wasn't
still a
beneficial
lot.
to them, all of a sudden they reported.
That's a lot.
So, trust me, it's
Just
not
terrible.
even
It's
more as
terrible.
hard as you think, but it's always been, I'm telling you, it has even been situations where a female talking to this guy who got the money and the finance, and all of a sudden, because he didn't know at the start,
That-
or he
right,
raped me,
right.
or a tourist, and it's still being recorded as rape.
Yeah.
But when you look now, what they
It's not taking advantage.
see,
Okay, weapons proliferation. Thank you. Thank you. Weapons proliferation. Recommendation 7. Y'all see the time? Recommendation 7. Make sure you know what recommendation 7 says. Make sure you understand and you can explain what weapons proliferation is. Okay? And read the 2008 FATF report, the overview and the conclusion on weapons proliferation. Okay?
Could you repeat that, please?
Send them over. Read recommendation 7 and understand what it says. As well, it's on the homework page, as well as read the 2008 FATF proliferation report, which is in your textbook.
Right, and you give me meat when you answer this question,
And
please.
she want me.
And trust me, you will see these questions again on the final exam, and so if you don't want to do the work now, that's what will happen to you. Okay? It'll be on you. It'll be on you if you don't do it now. You have to do it later. And this only 4 out of the 7, 8 questions. Yeah. So it's up to you, whatever you decide. Okay, good.
I'm trying to find it.
So we get a gist of what that is. Okay, the next question on that, it says, explain to us the importance of,
This returning on the 10th?
yeah, on the 10th. Yeah. So you have a whole 2 weeks. Chill out, do some work, and then chill back out again, and enjoy your holiday. But no excuses. Everybody in trouble. The class on increased controls with homework and quizzes. Okay? Increased controls.
What does that mean?
That enhanced due diligence. We have to do a little bit more than the usual. Right? Yeah, so when you want, you normally go on increased controls when there has been a breach or there's been an audit and audit has identified a deficiency. So you say we have to increase this control. Where one person is normally authorized, I'll have 2 people authorized. Where you don't have to swipe, you swipe through 1 door, you swipe through 2 doors. Like something went missing in this area, we put a swipe card on the door now. Before everybody used to go in and out this area, things are now missing from the inventory room. We put a swipe, everybody swipe card on the inventory room so we could know who been in here and what time. Increase controls. Right? Okay. Good. So normally the question asks, what's the importance of a sanction? What does the question ask? You'll have the question. I don't know. A robust, yeah. So what is the importance? Another popular question I see is targeted sanctions. What are targeted sanctions? And then there are 4 in your global sanctions. Your global sanction framework. There are 5 main categories. That is very popular.
What page are you on?
26.
What do you say is very popular?
Targeted sanctions.
And the global sanctions framework.
Yeah.
Terrorism.
Yeah, and then that question, what is the importance of having this framework in place? Okay? So let's talk about targeted sanctions. What are targeted sanctions?
Embargoes. Embargoes on exporting or supplying arms and related materials. Travel bans on named individuals. Ban on exporting equipment. Bans on import of raw material or goods from the sanctions target. Financial sanctions on individuals and government bodies and associated companies.
Okay, and so with Venezuela, if you look at the sanctions, one sanction specifically names the entire government. Hubert Menes, Turnquest, his wife, who else? Fred Mitchell, Brave Davis, Glennis Hanneman, it specifically names their name, right? These are the people that you are to put on, normally in your system, you could input names that if this name comes across in any way, I automatically get a hit. So of course you would take that sanctioned list and you would key those names in. You would menace the whole entire Venezuelan government is on one. On the Canadian sanctioned list, they have the government, all their cousins, all that. They have 54 persons. On this first list from the U.S., on that targeted sanction list, they have about 5 persons and their wives. On the Canadian list, they have about 54 persons. So when you're in sanctions, they don't really central bank didn't really touch on it. We don't really have any sanction laws in place. And I had to write a sanctions policy for the bank. That was one of the requirements from audit. So what did I do? Where I get this information from
One of the other countries.
from all of the other countries, right? But then I had to localize it and make it applicable to us.
Right.
So know that this is something you may have to do because sanctions is the next big thing that they are gonna push. After these risk assessments come out, they're already asking what sanctions framework you have in place with program. And so therefore, familiarize yourself with it. Know the difference between targeted, know the 5 categories and know how to explain it and do trainings on it, even though there's little information out there in the industry.
What do you think about the whole sanction in the United States? We just trade amongst ourselves.
Between targeted and
The United States have 2,000 missiles, China have 30.
Well, they still and they lost all of this. Still can't trade with nobody.
So we going in there with 35 against 2,000. No, against the largest army in the world. No.
And they can force us to trade with them. You go to war with me, you won't start to trade with you.
Yeah, we ain't have no say. First of all, we ain't have no say. No rising up of dictatorships in here and communism. No communism in your place. Democracy and what else? Monarchy. Yeah. What the England is? Yeah. No communist uprising in your place. No Castros. You learn from them the good. Like I say, out of every from Bin Laden, we learned that having a network that strong, you can survive.
No, what I'm saying is, right, let's say, I'm not talking about small prices. Let's just say, because I think France is one of the very few countries that's near self-sufficient, like they are actually able to produce a lot of all the food that they consume. So they have that. And then other countries, European countries, no.
All that they consume, not for the world though.
No, just for them.
For them, yeah.
Okay, but they also do. American president project funds, alright? Let's just say how China playing this, how America playing this game, Venezuela now, Russia, Korea. I don't think even the European countries ain't really friends with Trump. If they decide, we're just gonna trade amongst ourselves, and anybody wants to trade us except them.
Who's the lesser of the evils?
I'm not saying that.
No, but I just think, why would we? Who's the lesser of the evils? America? You really want to deal with Putin?
I'm not saying I'm saying, right? Like how, for instance, Trump signed the environmental treaty.
Yeah, Trump only for now. See, that's just it. At least you guaranteed every 8 years, there's no ever Trump again in life. So wait out 8 years is a joke. That's less than a century. Wait that out. Hopefully that ain't gonna happen again. It's just the uprise of racism again. It's just most people are cowards. They will say something to your face, but they really prejudiced, they really racist. You know what I mean? So he is just promoting how they really feel. They voted him. And it's not a mistake. You know what I mean? So you gotta look at that. This is just them having their voice now. The Ku Klux Klan, one of the largest networks in the world, most influential, most money. Right? That's them having their time. That's all it is. Everybody's have a chance. But you need to know how to survive when they have the chance. Just like, look up Fred Mitchell catching a taxi around. The other day he had the government car. Now he catching a taxi and walking up and down. I mean, not that he can't afford a car, but I just say it. Know how to survive when it ain't your time, when somebody else in charge. Maintenance, we could get things, we don't know how to maintain them. Yeah, but America is the lesser of the of all. Yeah.
What year was that College of the Bahamas report on the Royal Bahamas Defense Force?
217, 218. I sure the Commissioner of Police done that off, and you can't find that nowhere unless you go to them.
I don't see it.
It in there, no way. But you know about it, right?
It's not there.
Yeah, the guy in the back. You know about it, right? See, there you go. They can't even talk about it.
I haven't.
Okay, so we understand the targeted. We understand that we can get 2 transactions for Russia. One we can sign off on, and the next one we can't. We understand that, and so therefore, what should we do to make sure nothing slips between the cracks?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I didn't understand
No.
the thing you said.
You said one you can sign up on and one you can't.
Yeah, because
Should
they're
you not
possible.
sign off on all of them?
No, if Russia is in your risk appetite, and your institution offers services to Russian clients, how can you not say we ain't gonna do no transactions for you all? This is the whole point of opening up the account, right? Because I can be sending through wires. So if Russia is in your institution's appetite, and we have Russian accounts, therefore you as the compliance officer and the private banker should know that, hey, today Putin and Donald Trump is talking, so I need to see if there's still a sanction or a number. I need to see if there's still a sanction on school fees. You just have to do the work.
If it's not in your risk
But then you don't have nothing to worry about, and that's what I said. The Canadian banks, you don't have nothing to worry about. They say this is not our appetite. The boutique banks, the Swiss banks say yes, we have Russian clients. Yes, we have Venezuelan clients. You as a compliance officer, what will you do? Because I've had an owner say, no, don't make all of Russia high risk. That Russia is in high risk. On the Basel index, Russia is medium, just like the Bahamas. Do you want? Did you make all our Bahamian clients high risk? You know, that's just what they say. That's what they say. So what you have to do is you have to put some indicator. If your institution does not allow you to make all the Russian high risk, you have to put some indicator in the system to know that every time a Russian transaction go through,
Right.
I must check it
Check
as
it out,
compliance.
yeah.
And normally the best indicator, because you'll be making up all kind of codes that nobody else know, the best indicator is to make it high risk. So for sure, everybody knows that if compliance signature isn't on that, this is their control,
Right.
that cannot be processed. But when your institution doesn't allow you to make it high risk, you have to say, okay, call that as a 53, just so I don't go to jail. Every 53, tell the wire in the department, don't process unless I sign, because it has to be checked. Will you truly rely on the relationship manager who is the sales manager too, who out there drumming up business, and no way in the world he can tell this Russian person, I ain't putting through this wire?
Yeah, right.
You see what I mean? So you have to have some controls in place, and you have to know what to check.
So when you said two you could sign off on, what were you
That's on
doing?
control.
Okay.
That's remember you said what is it? Increased controls.
Right.
When you want increased controls, we heighten our controls. Right? We ask for 2 pieces of ID instead of 1. We put locks and switches on the door so we know who is accessing what. We make you sign in, we make you sign out. These are normal things you wouldn't do. But there's been some breach, something has happened. We process these wires that to sanctioned countries on sanctioned, will have targeted sanctions on it, on an individual or on a good or a service, and the wire going through. $100,000 to buy a number is sanctioned. Do you think you get a slap on the wrist? Do you think they say, okay, don't worry about that one slipped through, they ain't do nothing to that. Look, turn over. Turn over. Because this is a question too. Part of the question asks you, what penalties and breaches? Who got a penalty? 175 million pounds.
The Lloyd's TSB.
Okay, 8.9 billion. 100 million. You know what I mean? Now again, if we watch Dirty Money, we realize the one with the Mexicans who were HSBC, they had some big billion and everybody's, oh my God. But we learned that they made that in 5 weeks, so that was a slap on the wrist. But think about us. Can my little boutique bank, could the union take $1 billion, you know? $1 billion, $1 billion, this from the US now, this ain't from the Bahamas government who would say, Lord, that would close out that union and all those people could lose their money. No, this from the US, remember? Or from the UN, or from OFAC, or from who else? Who else has put sanctions on you? Or the US. You think they could worry about how many Bahamians could lose their money out of the union?
No.
Okay, so this is how serious it is. And definitely, even if we stay open and the bank don't close down, you think you have a job? Definitely you have no bonus. Unless you were somebody's cousin. Right? And you better be the member, the prime minister's cousin to keep that job. after that. Right? So we understand targeted. Could be on a person, could be on a service or good, could be, That's a popular question. The next one is the use of sanctions can be grouped into 5 main categories. What are these categories? What's the reason we do these? What's the reason that we sanction these countries? Is it for their oil? Nobody put that. Because we want to overthrow their government?
Counter-terrorism, conflict, protection of civilians, non-proliferation.
Okay, and you see, again, the UN has imposed sanctions on which countries? And this is the United Nations. Okay, who's supposed to be working with all these countries? Why would they? Because there's, a lot of people dying, civil unrest, the people are being affected. So they say, listen, we sit down, we have talks with you, we ask you to do something about what's going on in the, humanitarian effort in your country. You wouldn't listen, so forth. We say, okay, we could block you out from the world. Right? Because the UN normally supposed to be trying to solve these, provide solutions and resolutions and stuff like that. Right? Right? Okay. And then the designated person list. Again, there's a list. There's a lot of names. Of course, we know there's a special list just for Venezuela, but not only them. Of course, Bin Laden will be on the list. Of course, who else? Who else will be on that list? Saddam Hussein, if he was alive, all his children, all these people. Kim Jong. But listen, is he still on it now? Okay, so trust me. Do you think that anybody negotiating for? Take me off these lists. Don't, you know what I mean? I need money coming into my country. I need goods going in and out. Right? Okay, so that again, you put that blacklist in your system to make sure if you on vacation, somebody get that hit that no wires for Kim Jong Un, or somebody at least stop it, right? Okay, and it's from this. You tell us what's the importance. Y'all don't remember my first rule of this class, right? No cell phones allowed, right? We remember this, right? Anybody?
I don't remember that rule at all.
No, let me write it on the board.
Because I thought that it was helpful that.
Yes, no. If you Google it.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No telephone calls. You have off your notifications.
I would be so bored to have my phone up in front of me like this and.
We doing research. Research, right? So I have no problem with research. But no telephone calls, no texts, no WhatsApp, no Facebook. Okay? You could step right out. We don't have a problem. If you have to take a call, sometimes you do have emergencies. You could step right out. But other than that, we want value. Yeah, but only to Google anything that we talk about. Yeah. Alright, good. So we have some idea about sanctions. We understand it to some point, right? And we definitely, after we do our research, we can answer our homework. 10 points. I want you all overdo it. Each question here worth 10 points because it's like question 1 and question 4 have 3 parts. But I want you all to give me 10 points on each one so you could have sufficient meat when you get in the exam. You could be halfway there. Okay? And that's why I give it to you all on this week. Because you see that's 4 questions out of the 8. And that final exam was just in May.
There's a specially designated nationals list.
Yeah. All of that under the U.S. Patriot Act. And so again on the Wolfsburg questionnaire, you would see that. Do you support specially designated? I think that's another, I don't know if that's come under 319 as well, but it under that. And so if you go on the internet, you will see that list. And Ukraine used to be on it, and I think they were removed. So again, you need to know that. Because at one point I said, oh no, Ukraine, that on that specially designated list. No, there are 4 or 5 banks that are on that list as well. So do you see how you can't just, because what happens in our institutions is we put a policy in place, we leave it, it collects dust, nobody even ever knows about it. But if you're working in the offshore world and you do have an appetite for Russia, for Ukraine, for all these people, you have to, this takes time.
Biden one of those lists pretty much survive. I mean, a country, you just need a country, you can't fail as a country, right? Meaning, there's not been a country that's been so bad that we just kind of moved away.
But Turks and Caicos? Turks and Caicos is on the FATF non-deficient
It's
list.
still a country though, meaning.
It's still a country.
They still exist.
You're not supposed
But
to.
I'm fine, let's just say who have on that kind of list, that's put into that business, right? So they're not gonna transact now, who those business, how are they still functioning?
Just how people with the Venezuelan book, look at how risky it is. They see it as an opportunity whilst the world is afraid. Remember now, what they pay us for in private banking is for us to be savvy, for us to tax avoid, not to tax evade, right? For us to protect from sanctions and still operate my business. Because think about everybody in Venezuela who has money has to put that money somewhere or that money is zero. So my money could sit in the Bahamas for 10 years, but I could still have $250,000 after 10 years, I don't care. And plus I would have made interest in that Bahamian bank. But if I bring it to Venezuela, I used to be a millionaire today. Today I as a pauper, I can't feed my children. Right? And if you look at a lot of PDVSA or a lot of these contracts, because again, we are required to know our client, and so we ask for the contract with PDVSA, you would see on their financial statements a lot of receivables. PDVSA hasn't paid them for 3 years. You think they saying PDVSA can't owe me? Oh no, they saying when PDVSA pay me, they can pay me plus that finance charge for owing me. So their receivables are very high. So when that money gets stabilized, PDVSA go owe them probably with this 300,000 it'll be 3 million. But if you could wait and then your business could operate and sustain whilst all of this going on. Just they ain't stop the oil. Everybody in the oil business still working every day.
Yep.
They still drilling, digging, transporting. All of that happening. Right? Okay. All right. So we understand and we go do our homework, and after we do our homework, that should make it a little clearer. Okay?
And then we also have to read chapter 4, right?
Yeah, and then come prepared to read chapter 4. Please, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's been enforced. I got word. I could try to find out how much, but Central Bank has fined one of the credit unions for not having their risk assessment due. It was due on June 22nd. And that credit union said, this has never been enforced before. Central Bank to slap us on the wrist. No, Central Bank slapped the fine on them. I'll try to find out the amount. It may be small. And they have...
shouldn't be excused though, because they were sending out reminders
Right.
about that from January, I think.
Their activity.
No, I mean, they give them 90 days to complete it. And so in the 90 days, if they don't complete it, then you will see them saying, well, something has to happen.
They were sending regular reminders to us by email.
Yeah, but see, this is the first year it was enforced. Again, because of recommendation 1 not being, having
Oh,
a
it was
meeting.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I probably have to get another copy. I can give you 50. Okay, I don't want y'all to leave here clouded now. If you have questions, ask, and let's talk some more about it.
Yeah, but I missed last week now.
Wait, no, that ain't it either. That's a good. Oh, this is it. Yeah. Okay.
So the back side, right?
Yeah, every year. So, let me give you. Okay, this is one, and
You know this, and this is the same one y'all did today, this is one I did.
you did it today?
No, I did it last week.
No, this is what we did today, you didn't do this last week, we did this last week.
I didn't know what to write for this.
Oh, something is different?
Yeah.
This I just came out.
It's, remember I said I'm gonna retest you on quiz one, doing the research part that you were supposed to do? Yeah, so this is the research, yeah, so, yeah, get a copy, give a copy of that, please.
Okay.
You can do those three for homework, and because you have this one for the day.
I have that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's online. Yeah, this is under my guidelines, so this is what you go to your Bible. We should, internal AM policy from this. Yeah, and so a lot of times when we speak, we refer to this, because we talk about the compliance legislative matrix. It starts with the international bodies, the FATF, IMF, OECD, writing procedures, the recommendations, authority. Then we put them into law. Then we, from the law, this is easier to interpret, right? And so then from this, we take this, and then we make our own AML policy. I was, yeah. Yeah, but I was the royal for 16 years. Yeah, royal, yeah.
I
Yeah, he made a copy.
For both. Thank you.
Okay, so you got the homework?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm turning on, let me check.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
I would apologize.
No. But your quizzes were concerned, if you get, you can't pass a class without the quizzes, and the quizzes are 20%.
Yeah, I
You missed two, right?
Last week, yeah, two.
You missed
quizzes.
one,
Only last week I missed. Last week,
and this one, so you missed the two.
Yeah, because before I came late.
Yes.
I apologize, I just came back in.
Okay, but then you have to network with somebody, let them know, and then you have to call me, and I can do
So
this.
what I'll have to do with the quizzes and I'm gonna make back up?
Nothing, you can't.
She's, you know what?
You can't make them up. You can't make up a quiz.
Okay.
So the quiz is to help you, because to pass a class you need 70%. The quizzes are 20%, and we find that persons will do better on the quizzes, and that'll bump up their grade.
The exam.
And
For the
the
exam.
final, yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah, and then participation, you can't get 10% participation
No,
if
like you
you
said,
don't have to
I
participate.
have a CPA thing and I have to go. I have a problem with my virtual office, so I have to fly in now, go to get to the traps and everything.
You could watch it online. You could
Yeah,
get a
that's
friend.
all about that.
Yeah, so
That's
get
what
all the
it's-
information on there.
I have your number. I'm the chief.
I can-
Yeah, they have a group.
Yours are this.
No, no.
So can you go
But
over this?
that's also that, so that's the online.
Yeah, so administration, they'll give you the information for online.
And what am I getting?
I go here. I wasn't here. So can we switch? Yeah, you guys can switch. You write in on this. I will write up on it. I will sit like a dog. I take medication and when I move on, do the score of the 10. So I just get a call. I was like, you're in class. But you guys should have called on the
Yeah.
I didn't normally just get it up on it. And I'm like, okay, I am going even if I get an hour or so. But I was prepared for the quiz. So I'm like super disappointed that I got here and not able to do it. Well, I believe I was prepared based on what you said you should have done. Like you basically just said, it's on.
Yeah,
I feel crushed.
I also think people show me up and I'm so take it. So I have to come back to make sure that this is a requirement. Okay, no? Yeah, so I have to, that's why I have to talk again about being responsible and making a commitment to SEO.
I just told her that I don't know because the girl that I said she's always telling me we walk out together. easy for two.
Right. So that's my
And then send me a message last week to say, send me a message last week to say, if I could send
You too.
if I could send her updates on everything in place. So I didn't mind because I felt that street as well. But I don't really do that every week. If I feel like if you're not interested, I'm just using that. Yeah. So I told this to her, so that you really know, I said, I do too. So if it's all this come together, maybe we could make something happen out of it. So, it's two.
She did her first one, You did the first one.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
you can give her those
So you
results.
give me my wonderful results.
That's your wonderful results.
Let's see, now I have so many papers. This week.
Let me talk to them so they can go.
Okay.
Like in the name of the
Okay,
correct, I
so-
couldn't think of anything.
You're okay, right? Okay, I'm gonna add them in and as things.
You don't need to email it.
I just need the phone.
Okay, sounds good.
And then with you could WhatsApp me and you'll fill out how to operate. Okay?
Yeah, just keep telling her you can do it, you can do
Yeah,
it.
we can do it. I think we can.
You're learning a lot, right?
That's how it pays.
Just feels like a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's okay. You have some awareness.
I'm sure.
You have some awareness.
You have to go. You go.
No, I just said I think I know some, and that I'm reading part, I understand the recommendation. But like the question that I just based myself last week on the three questions that I did because I was in for the first one. So I understand the recommendation, I understand the regional bodies and all and what they implemented and different things like that. But just I guess tie it together. Like how the question you asked for efficiencies. I didn't.
You had to go and do research for that. You had to go and look at the mutual evaluation, and remember we read in the newspaper that we had 22 deficiencies. So that's what you had to do. So remember I said go online, pull up July 2017 Bahamas mutual evaluation, and see where we have the deficiencies. We know we had one in recommendation 1, and we know we had one in recommendation 5. So immediately you should have gone to those two and see where we was deficient and what we did. Right? So it's just the research part.
Right, that's
Yeah.
it.
So go do that, so at least you know.
I understood on the
What are you supposed to say? What is she supposed to say? Okay, thank you.
Let's go to the corner.
Like my question on recommendation, I wouldn't know what I say on that based on like, no, the other 2 or 3.
You mean on this test that you just saw?
I wrote based on, I guess, what you said in class. I think there was a question that you said, something about, I think in the prior class you said something about, it was the first time that we had actually had a money laundering case, and they were saying that so many of the behemoths, the Bahamas must be a law. So I used that for one of my answer because I remember that.
Right. But see, you have to, if you don't do the research, I only touch in on, right? You have to read and do research to be able to get that full 10 points. I will give you 2 out of 10. You gotta go get the 8. Yeah, and that's all it is.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, the research.
The research,
Yeah.
go in
And you have to get familiar with these documents because this is so much when you write an essay. It's like you can't read 3 90-page essays, so you need to be able to know what the keywords to look for, how to pinpoint where these things are, and get the meat to put it. Because a lot of times we get the fluff and we miss the whole point, and you get all the
Because
points.
even with the recommendation 1, I read up on an article, I think that Iowa State in October, I know you told recall, with the Attorney General, and how we moved from partially to largely compliant. So
You would get 10 points for that because you
I drew that
understand and you know
I put that,
where to go get it right.
my answer because he said that we were out of the 13 of the 40 we were not compliant, and then 18 of the 40, and then we were moved from partially to largely, and how we was law enforcement, regulators, FIU, right, like that. So now
You can tie it into real life and Yeah, because see, a lot of times we learn from the book, and you would have read this in the book, but when you go back to your work, you don't know what is a targeted sanction? You don't know. Oh my God, this a targeted. I just didn't even know a targeted sanction was when somebody's name was listed,
Right.
or this person could be on a designated list. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I try to make it every day. So when you go back to work, and we have these conversations, you are familiar. I know what Section 319 of the Patriot Act says.
Because I believe we went through the first one. Yes. I did. I was pretty sure it was doing that.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yes, and you get points. Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, just doing the research and tying it in and networking. So, we have a
And understanding. Right. That's the key. Understanding, just remember now, is decision based. If you don't understand, you can't make that decision.
So you would also suggest to going over all of the deficiencies.
I mean, just so you are aware.
Sorry,
You don't need to know all. Because like I said, you don't want, it's easy to get trapped with too much information, like information overload. So
Right.
just I want you to be familiar. I know where to find the 40 recommendations. I know if the mutual evaluation report say this, I can, this what we didn't do. I can tie it in, I can understand where we would default. Because, wow, recommendations, was it 7? Says that all of the FMBs, and I know that for this, the first year, our law firms, our real estate, and our accountants, right. I
Yeah,
noticed
I
the
think I
first
read
year,
something like that.
like that. So you would have that understanding, and so I can make my decision based on this. Prior to 2019, this wasn't a requirement, so of course we weren't compliant. So the tie-in, the buy-in, and I'm making my decision because I understand the industry. Yeah. Not just read this book, understand the industry and go there and be able to perform.
I think
That's
that was
key.
just, I heard you.
I was trying to figure out and say, hold on. I know we have to do something, but I wasn't a part of it.
Okay, yeah, so June 22nd, the risk assessment was due, and I don't know if Central Bank come out to everybody as yet, but one credit union, they sent them the fine. They said,
I don't know if we got a fine because last week we had upload.
you have another branch?
We have 3
Branches, eh?
We have like maybe 5.
Okay. No, I don't think it's yours, Indian National. Okay. Indian yours for sure. But they ain't reached the
No,
audio.
because-
They might have reached the audio. I don't know, but I know this
But
person
I
for
see
sure.
I know our senior managers, they did do an assessment. I don't know if that's the same assessment.
It would have been. It would have been.
Yeah,
It was
but
still
I
by.
wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, and then
So,
there's another one due in October. It's the enterprise-wide one. The first one was just the AML one. So they're getting a fine for the AML one, and now they are
So you have to
removing.
do the AML one in order to do the
I mean,
October
you
one, or
have to. Yeah, I mean, it'll be the AML one is just based on AML. The next one is enterprise-wide, where you have to get the credit department, the finance department to identify their risk, put controls in place, and then you agree.
Well, that's the framework. We're talking about the risk framework.
Yeah, the risk framework. Yeah, and then you test it. You do an assessment on it.
Yeah,
And-
because they came to
right.
us like a couple of
Can you get like external people?
Yeah, a lot of people pay the Deloitte to do it, but
Deloitte, so-
Deloitte charging $80,000-$90,000.
I'm sorry, but if I rather do that than not get fined. I don't.
Hello.
Yeah, because they came to
That's
us
yes,
earlier part of
I
this
saw
year.
it. Okay, so therefore, you would expect that, and along with all the other work you have to do, Deloitte only doing that for $80,000. Only that. So,
What if we don't know how to go about doing it?
mess.
If we don't really,
Nobody knows. It's a new thing. When we went to Central Bank, and Central Bank had a seminar, and Central Bank, we asked them for a template. They say every business is different. We all are the experts. We are just the regulators. We all should be able to come up with something, right? And so nobody knows. So what is going to happen is going to be a trial and error period. You put it in place, you send it to them, they say it's deficient, you upgrade it. You send it back to them, they say no, that's what you do.
That's what I gotta find out, because see, we have people who have been working on it. They came in May and told us it's a good start. That's the
Yeah,
ones that came
there
out
you
there.
go.
So that's,
They don't know themselves. And then Barco at the seminar, Cheryl Bazard came up and said, Australia's bank, blah, 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 had to do it last year, and this is what they did. And so the central bank the trial came out and said, it's good that you all are gonna use Australia as a template, but I just want you all to know that Australia was fined $1 billion for this. And so I was like, crush our dreams, Latrell, crush our dreams. I was like, roll her right out. But again, still, I forget, it starts with some company that she said these are good templates that you could use, but this is why you would attend the seminar. Why did all the people who attend the seminar for Deloitte getting the 80,000? Why not you? Because you do this, you do this.
Yeah.
This stuff, you could do it.
I don't have time.
It's not time to make money. She don't have time to say,
I need to get a different lady.
you in the job, that's just it. You in the job. That's your position. You make it into what it needs to be. Deloitte does not need 80,000. Deloitte could do it wrong. Deloitte could do it wrong. I said it there.
She can talk, we gotta figure it out.
Deloitte will do it wrong. You all could submit it, and
the
then
executive
you could be
fine.
you could get a fine. They could send it back, and then they would give the leeway to Deloitte. This is what you need to do. Oh, everybody said I need help. Remember that time when I tell you I had the project? The man from Canada had to come from Canada, stay here for a month and do it. I didn't know what to do. They said, no, nobody from Canada got make you do this. You know what's my salary going up? After I do that, and I save the company thousands of paying a life key club, you wanted to stay in for the month. Okay, hello, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'll demo, bringing it back and forth. Disney. Will they do it? Stop it.
Because they came, Aml July was there, trust me, they visited us, and they were there.
But there's help too. Cause see, be afraid Say you can do it. That guy right there worked the Central Bank. All the inspectors in my class and ICA, she could stop all of them. The whole Securities Commission in the ICA class. Because they say if they writing people up.
What is the name again?
Frederick. If they writing people up for not having the designation, being in the position, how they could be the inspector and in the position and don't have the designation. 10 of them from the Securities Commission in the ICA class. Okay? 5 of them from Central Bank in the ICA class. That's now. They've been there for years. They in the ground. Okay, so you could tell me, they could tell you. No? Stop it.
Yeah, we can do it. I just like you say, we just have to tough, make sure
Yes.
tie it in with the, when you write your 10 points, you tie it in with the points.
And understand how it works in everyday life.
School of Red supposed to find this,
I think she said that they took it down.
If it ain't online, then they took it down because it was it showed how deficient the police and the defense force was, and how you must have, like, every 3 persons must have a police officer, so per capita and stuff like that. And they only do it as a project, but because the lecturer shared it with the head of security, and the head of security used to be a former police, they said, let's share this with the commissioner, because I bet you he don't even know this. And he was astounded. So they probably took it down. Because it didn't look good. It didn't look good on them at all.
Then this whole country, they're in trouble.
And they got somebody out of the statistics class to do the statistics, and you know, on them funny days yourself. Yeah, so it showed how grossly deficient we are, and there's nothing they can do with the murders, there's nothing they can do with the judicial system. This is what, yes. So trust me, they did that down. It'll scare you. It'll scare you.
because we have this extra week off.
Yeah. So I want good homework, no excuses, and I want meat.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, take care. Enjoy your holiday now. Take your little break. Burroughs, you waiting to see me?
I'm waiting for the lady to bring back the paper. She's supposed to be copying.
Why she bring that back? Long time. Jesus. With the homework?
That's the quiz.
No, that's the word. No, you know what she did? She give that to the guy, you know.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she give that to the guy.
She looked me in my eye and said, I can copy and bring it right back to you.
Yeah.
She's supposed to make 2 copies of that.
Yeah, she did.
That was my copy, she took to make the copy in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, go right to the
You can't even let me.
the bright guy.
Yeah.
See, what happened is the internet system down, and that's why we're having so much trouble printing. So go right to the bright guy. He can print it off the system. So you tell him the one for today.
Miguel?
Yeah, or Michael or Miguel. Yeah,
That doesn't
the young guy.
Who's
Yeah,
using the computers?
yeah. Let me go read that.